Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy, the recap. So today we are recapping Jennifer Robin Wilson. And you put the Robin in there because Jennifer Wilson is a rather common name. And Jennifer came to us with all kinds of wonderful information. But the part I want to camp out on had to do with taking care of other humans. So she actually has done not a personality test. What did she call it? It's a strengths test called Kolbe that she is certified in. Kolbe, Kolbe. And she uses that strengths test to help people end up in the right spaces, doing the right things, because when we are able to live in our unique genius, magic happens, right? We've talked about that on this podcast for years. But the other thing that she's done is she's written a book called The Heart of Homestay. Homestay is what we in the States would call exchange students. And her family has hosted these exchange students, these homestays, for many years. And she's written a book about it because she's learned some things. And that's really where I want to camp out. We do not know what other people bring to the table ever, unless they choose to tell us. And we really don't know how what they do could positively impact us if we don't ask. So we last summer had the opportunity to house two students, one from Minnesota and the other from Indiana. These are students that came to us because they were going to work as interns at our church for the summer. And at the last minute, there wasn't anywhere for them to stay. So we decided to let them stay with us. And it ended up being such a blessing. These students were 19 and 20 years old. My own kids are just a little older than that, 24 at the time. They're 25 now. And it was such a cool opportunity to get to know people on a different level and to be able to support them in a way that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, right? Because when you live with somebody for a couple months, you learn some things. And I just felt like it was such a privilege. So in talking to Jennifer about the homestay process, she was saying, these girls were from another state, not from another country. But when you have people come from another country, you need to get to know their culture and all of the different things that make them tick. And then you add their personalities on top of that, or their strengths as she studies, and you've got a whole different ballgame. But what we often do is we judge first instead of remaining curious. So I don't know if you are a Ted Lasso fan, but if you're not, I highly recommend giving it a shot because, oh my goodness, is it incredible. And they're coming out with a new season, so you should go watch it immediately if it's out yet. It's right around now that it's coming out. And so there is a clip in the original Ted Lasso where Ted is playing darts against Rupert. He's the bad guy, right? And he is talking about the difference between being judgmental and curious. And he leans into the idea of asking questions. Because when we ask questions, we learn things that we would not otherwise know. So today, I want you to think about where you are being judgmental versus curious, right? Because we by nature, we have an implicit bias. It is hardwired into our brains, but we don't have to adhere to it. We get to choose to do so or not. And that's a choice. I don't think everyone always exercises that choice. I think it's easier to just judge and say, oh, I don't like that person because they're wearing a Yankees hat and I'm I can't think of Mets fan. All of a sudden, I could not think of another baseball team to save my soul. But the idea here is that when you choose to set aside judgment and be curious, really amazing things can happen. And I have found that to be true on this podcast time and time and time again, because I learn very little about my guests ahead of time. In other words, they might email me or I might find them on a forum or whatever, and I know what they've chosen to show me. But then a conversation gets going and I have two choices. I can prejudge and decide this is going to be an interesting conversation or not, or I can walk in eyes wide open and ask questions. And I But I have so much fun asking questions in these episodes. And I hope that you see that genuine curiosity and that you're like, yeah, I want to know that too. What's going on? So today, I want to encourage you to exercise your curiosity because it's impossible to be judgmental and curious at the same time. So you get to pick. Am I going to judge this person or am I going to be curious about this person? Am I going to judge this situation or am I going to be curious about this situation? You pick. And when you pick, you get to decide some of those outcomes as well. So today on Productive Joy, you are learning to be less judgmental and more curious. What does that look like for you? Does that look like asking more questions of your daughter's boyfriend the first time that he comes around? Or is that deciding that the person that you've worked out to next to for the last 2 years is worth speaking to? Or the one that always seems to get in your way? What if you just said good morning? How would that change things? So today, I want you to be curious, and your curiosity might lead to something really magical, and I want to hear about it. So, if you want to tell me about it, I would love to know what was a time that you were curious instead of judgmental. You can put it in the comments here, or you can send me an email at Christie, Christie, at intentionalitygroup.com, because I want to know what you decided to be curious about instead of judging, because by nature, we judge. That does not get us where we want to go. Instead, we need to be genuinely curious. So today, I need you to grab onto something that you think that you can actually utilize. I don't know what that something will be, but you do. So grab it and do something with it because otherwise this was a waste of your time, and I don't believe in wasting your time. So do me a favor, grab that nugget and figure out a way to turn fun into action.